Hello everyone, my name is Richie and welcome back to another video. Today join me for another What's Better video, and today we're talking about Manchester Airport Commuter and the Glossop Line. So if you've not seen a video like this from me before, basically what we do is we take a look at two separate DLCs that are kind of similar, sort of similar area and whatever else, and we kind of compare them and see which one's better. And today's two lucky culprits are the Manchester Airport Commuter route, which released the other week, and the Glossop Line. So as that pendolino leaves in the background, we're going to jump into the main menu, compare the two timetables, and then we're going to do a little run on each of the routes to see which one's better and talk a little bit about it. So let's jump into the respective main menus and then do some driving. So here we go, we're here in the main menu, and the first thing I want to mention is that both of these routes come with the Class 323 in Northern livery. So normally we'd compare like the included rolling stock and stuff, but obviously because they both have the same piece of rolling stock, it's more focusing on the route itself. So with that said, we're going to do this in release order as we always do, and I'm going to find the Glossop Line. Where is it? It's down here somewhere. There it is, Glossop Line. So if we jump into that, you can see we've got 201 services, you've got a couple of scenarios as well. So if we jump into the timetable, you can see we've got a fair few layers here. So obviously we've got the 323 itself, and then we've got a few rail tours and other bits and bobs going on. So the 323 itself does the bulk of the services, like I mentioned, does pretty much everything, goes the full length of the line. The Class 158 does a depot move, which is quite cool. I would have liked to have seen some more stuff with the 158, but I think you see a lot of it as AI. We've got the Class 20, which I think is doing the rail tours, doing a couple of rail tours there. You can also see got the 37, which I think does the same sort of stuff. Yep, does a couple of special services. I think the Class 40 does the same as well. Oh, it does its own services there you go. And you've got the Jubilee doing a steam rail tour, which is quite nice. So there's plenty of rail tours. So obviously because this is kind of like a quiet route, they tried to beef it up with some other stuff, which is quite nice. And of course we can't forget the Class 66 for freight, which does quite a bit of freight on this route. There's a fair few services, so plenty of stuff to do with the 66. Jumping into the Manchester Airport Commuter, you can see we've got a fair few more services here. We've got 895 and a couple of scenarios as well. So if we jump into the timetable, one notable difference here is that there's a Sunday timetable and a weekday timetable. So I think the Sunday one is like mainly focused on like depot moves and all that sort of stuff. So if you like your shunting and all them sorts of things, you can do that with the Sunday timetable. I've mainly been playing the weekday timetable because it's the busier one. There's also a lot more layers in this. So if we jump into this one, you can see we've got the 323 again, all sorts of other stuff as well. Now straight off the bat, this route has a stronger timetable, but it kind of helps with the fact that a lot of the services here came after Glossop Line release. So obviously with the Glossop Line releasing and other stuff releasing since then, you can't really backport it unless they make a new timetable. So if they were going to do a new timetable for Glossop Line, we'd probably see the stuff as just AI. It wouldn't really add anything playable. But for playable services, this route is a lot stronger. But with that said, we've got the 323 doing the bulk of stuff, almost 300 services with that. It does all sorts of different bits and bobs. You've got the Transport for Wales stock, which does mainly stuff between, I think it does some airport runs, but it does mainly Manchester Airport to Stockport. Got the Class 158 in East Midlands train livery, which is obviously doing actual East Midlands trains sort of running, so not a depot move or anything. But you do also have the ScotRail one, which is subbing in for some northern services. We've got the Class 350, which is acting as TransPennine Express, doing a couple of services to and from the airport. You've also got the Pendolino. You've also got some freight, of course, there's plenty of freight on this route, and also a rail tour with the Class 87. With that said, let's jump into a service on the Glossop Line, talk a little bit about it, and then we'll jump into this one, Manchester Airport Commuter. So let's do it. So here we are, we're here in the Glossop Line, and I've jumped into 2G14 Manchester Piccadilly to Hadfield. So let's get started and get ourselves set up, shall we? So 323, dead easy to set up. You do that, and you lock the doors. Happy days. So here it is, the wonderful 323 and Manchester Piccadilly, which I think has been modelled absolutely fantastically, if I'm honest. Obviously, it's got a lot of 323s in, but it's very void of anything else, which obviously, like I mentioned in the intro, the stock to fill this up wasn't there. But it looks really nice. I've been to Manchester Piccadilly a little while ago, and it looks pretty spot on, to be honest. Obviously, we'll look at the Manchester Airport Commuter one, where you can actually walk through into the concourse, which I think is a nice little touch, but here you can see it's all blocked off. This is the wonderful Northern livery on the 323s, and it looks absolutely splendid. I really do like the Northern livery. I want to see some more of it. Obviously, there's some units we've got in the game that could be in Northern livery quite easily, to be honest. You've got the 158s, you've got the 150s, you've got all sorts of different bits and bobs. So, you know, hopefully in future we see some more Northern stock. Anyway, let's get the doors locked and let's see where we're going to go today. So we're going to go a couple of stations today. We're going to go to Ashbury's, Guidebridge and Flowery Fields, just around about 15 minutes, just to have a little look at the Glossop Line. But as we go along, I will show you the route map and all that sort of stuff. So let's go. Up to 15 mile an hour as we leave Manchester Piccadilly. Obviously, the 323 sounds absolutely fantastic. I love the sounds of the 323, and I think it's been made really well. Obviously, it first came with Birmingham Cross City, which is my favourite route because I'm biased. But yeah, it's just absolutely fantastic. As we leave Piccadilly, you can see the wonderful Manchester skyline. Well, I say wonderful. It's not got much of a skyline, but you know, it's nice to see that it's nice and built up here. Got East Midlands train 158 coming in there, and also we've got some freight down there. So this bit, you do see a fair few bits and bobs of stock. You obviously see the HSTs as well, the Midland Mainline HSTs. So it's as busy as it can be for what was in the game at the time. And that's the thing with this, right? It's obviously, you know, not as busy as the other route we're going to look at today, but it's one of them where what was available at the time, they certainly tried to cram it up with stuff. Right then, let's get up to 35 mile an hour. So it's not a very fast route, is the Glossop Line. I think the highest speed you can go is 60 or 75 or something like that anyway. It's not overly high speed. Because that's just the nature of the Glossop Line. It's like a commuter line, isn't it? Down into the little village or town of Glossop and Hadfield. So it's kind of like a key little route, and it's not overly fast. Yeah, off goes that freight service, and off we go to the left-hand side. So I think this is Ardwick, I believe. There's a big depot over there, which I think you can do some stuff in the depot. I'm not too sure, but obviously Ardwick depot is usable in both this route and in Manchester Airport Commuter. Now this station I don't actually think sees any services. I'm not too sure. Is it disused, or is it sort of like, you know, just there for scenery or whatever? I'm not too sure. You've got some 323s over there as well. A little depot filled up there nicely. And there we go, we're on the approach into Ashbury. So what I quite like about this route is the commuter sort of style, because, you know, it gives me kind of vibes of like the Suffragette line or the Mildmay line, because it's kind of like a key commuter route, let's say. Anyway, here's Ashbury, so let's get some breaks in there. You'll notice this route is very thick and fast. So with Manchester Airport Commuter, you do have a bit more varied stuff. So all the services on this are pretty much the same, I won't lie, but it's just the nature of the route. And there we go, let's get stopped here at Ashbury. So let's put that into full brakes and unlock the doors. Lovely stuff. From a modelling point of view, I think it looks really nice. Nice and busy, and because it's quite condensed, it's one of them sorts of routes that a lot of time has been put into the detail, and a lot of time has been put into the timetable as well. So we can lock the doors and we can go again. Right then, let's go. 3.4 miles to Guide Bridge. Full beans and let's go. Ain't it wonderful? I love the 323s. I really do. I think they're absolutely fantastic. Right then, we've got 3 miles to go to Guide Bridge. So as we fly along, I'll show you the route map. So as you can see here, this is the route map, which is a fair length to be fair. I think it's around about, off the top of my head, I think it's like 15 miles, something like that. This route starts over here at Manchester Piccadilly, where we just started. Obviously, if you keep going down this way, that's your Manchester Airport Commuter route. You go around this way, you've obviously got Guide Bridge, which we're coming up to just over here, and there's a few services where I think this is where the freight starts and ends around here. You then keep going down here, you got Hyde down, I think this is Newton for Hyde, there you go. There's a little station there where some stuff starts. There you go, there's some freight there. And then you keep going down here towards this station. What's this one called now? Dinton. So this is like a triangular junction where you split off down this way, and then you turn around, you go back up this way, you turn around again, then you go back down and then back around here. So it's quite nice. It's different. This sort of area is quite different. And I think that's a cool little feature with this route. So it kind of forces you to change ends and sort of like do seamless timetable runs, because obviously they're all playable, but they're all split up. So I think that's quite a neat feature, because sometimes you just jump into a route, do one service, and then carry on onto a different route. With this one, you can jump into it, and then you can keep going. So you can start at Manchester, go down here, change ends again, go back, and you can do like a proper shift. And that's what I really like with self-contained routes, is that you can do shifts, you can act like a train driver for a couple of hours, and I quite like it. Anyway, we are just over a mile from Guide Bridge, so scenery, spot on, looks absolutely fantastic. It's nice and built up, and you do feel like you're in the suburbs of Manchester. I think one thing I would definitely change with this route is maybe like, I don't know, maybe some of the northern stock or something like that, or maybe even like backdating it, because I think this would have been part of the Woodhead line, so it would have gone a bit further, but then again we wouldn't have had the northern 323s or any northern trains for that matter. So it's one of them, it is what it is, the route is what it is. This is all self-contained like I just mentioned, so it's quite nice. Right then, here's Guide Bridge, and as you can see we've got another 323 there, so let's get some brakes in and just slowly do it. Slowly slow down into the station, because we don't want to mess this up, do we? Slowly does it into Guide Bridge. There we go, let's stop there and unlock the doors. Happy days. So yeah, the stations on this are really nice as well. There's plenty of stations on this. I think there's like 13 or 14, something like that. And also the stop times are very quick. As you can see, straight away we can lock the doors, so let's do that. But yeah, the scenery and the station modelling is really nice on this. Right then, there we go. We can now go to Flowery Fields. So full beans and let's go, shall we? let's do full beans again. Up to 40 mile an hour and then 60. Yeah, like I say, I quite like this route. I think it's a quaint route. It's certainly unique, and it was also a reduced price point, which was quite nice. As you can see, you got some stuff over there. So obviously, if we had the applicable stock, I think you would see some like TransPennine Express stuff over here as well. So if there was like the applicable stock to be in this route at the time, it would have felt a bit beefier and a bit more busy. But for the time period it was released in and what we had available in the game at the time, I think they did a really good job with it. And just like that, we're on the approach into Flowery Field. And one thing I really like with this route as well is sort of like the industrial feel, because you know, you're going through the suburbs, you're going through the industries, and obviously people that live on the outskirts of Manchester would be using this route to get into Manchester city centre itself. So it kind of does create that sort of commuter style, which I really like. I personally think that's my style of route, and I think it's the best. You can also see a freight service over there. Oh no, it's actually a rail tour. Look at that. Look at that. That's awesome. There you go. So that's a Class 37 rail tour, which I showed you in the main menu, which is very nice. So it's cool that you see them along the route. That's a station that you can't actually access with any of the 323s. As you can see, it's a diesel only down there, so that's why you don't go down there. And also, just like that, we're approaching into Flowery Field, so we'll get some brakes in and just slowly coast into this station where we're going to leave this little segment. But yeah, the Glossop Line, I quite like it. If you like your sort of commuter route similar to like Suffragette Line or the Mildmay Line, you'll really like this one. Obviously it comes with the 323, and I think it's a little bit cheaper as well. It's only like 19 quid or something like that, so it's a bit cheaper, and also it's a nice little route. It's quite quaint and also quite unique with the triangle junction at the end. Right, let's stop there and unlock the doors. Happy days. So there we go, that was a little look at the Glossop Line. So what we'll do now is we'll jump into the Manchester Airport Commuter route and drive another 323, so I'll see you there. And here we go, we're here in the Manchester Airport Commuter route, and I've jumped into 2B84 Manchester Piccadilly to Hazel Grove, going as far as Stockport. So let's get ourselves started and get ourselves set up, shall we? Again, dead easy, put that in there, and unlock these doors. Happy days. Right, so here it is, the 323, once again. I feel like I'm getting deja vu. So here it is again, once more, Manchester Piccadilly, which looks a lot better, obviously feels a lot busier too. You've got plenty more 323s, got a Pendolino, got a Transport for Wales 150/153. There's not much going on over here, but I think there might be some stuff as you go through the concourse. So this is all new and accessible, which is quite nice. You can go through here and fly around down to 13 and 14 down here, where there's another 323. Oh, that's quite interesting. I've not spotted that before. You've got a 350 on the same platform. Very cool. So platforms are shared by different pieces of stock, which is quite nice. Obviously, a few things to note here at Manchester Piccadilly. You've got the remodeled taxi rank down there, which is nice and cool. I like it. So a big thing with this, right, is your road markings. Obviously, you've got like a yellow box junction over there, and as we go on for the route, you can see them there actually, double yellow lines and stuff, which are very nice. You can actually fly on down here, which is very nice. You can see you've got one-way signs and stuff. That's absolutely awesome. Stuff like this I've not even noticed just yet. As we fly into the actual station itself, you can see the concourse is all opened up now, so it won't grade off like it was before. You can actually go through here and explore it all, which is very nice. And if you keep going down here, you can actually go down to the Metrolink platforms, which is really cool. So if I fly down here, there you go, look, Metrolink platforms, very nice. So yeah, plenty of improvements here at Manchester Piccadilly, which is nice. So we can get ourselves ready to go. So let's lock the doors, shall we? Let's do that and then get ready to go. Right then, let's get going. Let's go to Stockport. First calling point is Leavensholme, and then I think we're going to Heaton Chapel. So Leavensholme, Heaton Chapel, and then Stockport in around about 15 minutes time. So a fairly, you know, sort of similar length service as what we've just done on the Glossop Line, just to show what this route's all about. As we leave Piccadilly, you can see all the stock there. Obviously got the 350 and the Pendolino we've just seen. Got another 323 coming in there, which is very nice. There's also, I think, something coming in down there. Obviously, as we leave Piccadilly, the skyline hasn't changed all that much. It didn't really need to be changed, to be fair, but it looks nice and busy and built up, which I like. Got a Pendolino coming in here, which is really cool to see. Obviously, you'll see a lot of stuff as we go along, so, you know, Pendolinos, 158s, all sorts of stuff you'll see, which is nice and busy. I like it a lot. Right then, we can get up to 45 mile an hour, so full beans up to 45. So, got 2.5 miles to Leavensholme. Once we get there, I'll show you the route map as well, because the route map on this is a little bit bigger than the Glossop Line. I think the Glossop Line's around about 14 miles. This one's around about 27. There goes the Glossop Line down there in Ardwick Station, and we've got Ardwick Depot as well just next to it. So obviously, you know, that station you can't really do many services to in this route either. So obviously, if you used to play the Glossop Line, you go that way. Right then, we can get up to 65 mile an hour. So there's a depot there, Ardwick Depot. You've got a 323 in there. So obviously, the Sunday timetable is fully focused on empty coach stop moves and all that sort of stuff. So you will use a lot of the depots on this route. Now, obviously, a key thing to note with this is that it's made by a third party. It's made by Alan Thompson Simulation, which it's their first train sim world route, and I'm honestly think they've done a fantastic job with this. You know, a few little things I'd say I'd change, maybe a crew extension or whatever else, but you know, for what they've done a really good job. Right then, let's get some breaks in because we're not too far away from Leavensholm. So that way is towards the airport. I'll show you the route map in a minute. As you can see, got an 87 coming around there. Look at that for timing. That's absolutely fantastic. So again, you'll see plenty of stuff along this route. Yeah, off goes that 87. So yeah, that way's towards the airport. So pretty much everything goes down there. I think more stock actually goes down there, like the 350s and whatever else. I think the only thing that doesn't is the Pendolinos. And here we go. Here's Leavensholm. So let's get some breaks in, shall we? Just slowly does it. You don't want to overshoot these stations because there's plenty of stations on this. They're very thick and fast. So let's slow down here as we've got something coming either way. Is that a 158? I think it might be. Looks very 158-ish. Right, let's stop there, and as we've got that East Midlands train 158 flying past, look at that, fantastic. So we've seen loads of stuff so far. What, 3 or 4 different pieces of AI? This is Leavensholm, looks really nice around here. The station modelling on this route and the Glossop Line are pretty incredible. I really like how it's all like suburban feeling as well, so it does feel like a proper UK route, this one. I like the road markings, double yellow lines. It's just cool little features, I like it. Right then, we've got the doors locked, and let's go to Heaton Chapel in 1.5 miles time. So let's go, full beans, all the beans please. And a couple of tones. So as we fly towards Heaton Chapel, I'm going to jump back into the cab and show you the route map. So this is the Manchester Airport Commuter route. So again, we started up here at Manchester Piccadilly. You can see there's a lot more stuff in there. This way is towards the Glossop Line, and then we head on down this way, which is, I think, technically the West Coast Main Line, isn't it? This is Stockport, where most of your Pendolino services end and stuff like that. And then we head on down this way towards Alderley Edge, which is just there. Got Wilmslow here, which is another little junction station, so a lot of the services that go both ways around the route end there, which is quite cool. You've also got this branch which goes down towards the airport, which is just there. What's quite cool with this is obviously it's very similar to the Glossop Line, where you start at Piccadilly, you go down to the airport, you change ends, and then you go down towards Alderley Edge. So it's got that sort of element of having to change ends and, you know, doing continuous runs, which I really like. Anyway, here we go. This is Heaton Chapel, so we need to slow right down. We're going a bit too quick here. We don't want to overshoot this one. We're doing so well so far. So let's slowly do it into Heaton Chapel. We've got another 323 over there as well. Couple of tones for it. Lovely stuff. And let's slow down there for Heaton Chapel. Slow right down. Right down. There we go. Awesome. We've also got something else going through, another 323. Look at that. Again, station modelling here at Heaton Chapel looks absolutely fantastic. It really does. Looks absolutely brilliant. You've obviously got the LED screens for the PIS, which is new for this as well. So that's a cool little feature that it's kind of like replicating newer styles of PIS. Right then, as that 323 departs over there, let's get our doors locked and get ready to go towards Stockport, which I think is in around about another mile or so's time. So let's lock them doors. Cool. Let's go. Full beans, 1.5 miles to Stockport. And I tell you what, this route, absolutely fantastic. I love it. So a couple of tones as we leave here. One thing to notice before we head towards Stockport is the Northern branded posters, which is really nice. So a lot of Northern branded stuff, and they have been heavily involved with this, which I quite like. Anyway, here we go. We are flying up towards 75 mile an hour as we head towards Stockport. So yeah, again, like I say, both this route and the Glossop Line are very similar in the way that they sort of run. If you've just got the 323s, they are very similar, you know, start-stop runs, very metro-esque. So they kind of both offer the same sort of style of service patterns, which is nice. Right then, let's get some brakes in as we cross this viaduct into Stockport, which is just over there. Look at this. This bit's really nice. I like this bit. See, other little things I like with this route as well, like the motorways and stuff. There's a motorway nearby on the airport branch, which looks absolutely fantastic. Things like the sort of like the direction arrows are very specific in like where they should be in real life, which I like. Right then, here's Stockport. As you can see, we've got a Pendolino over there. Very nice. So again, Stockport is where you sort of start your Pendolino runs. Some of them start at Wilmslow, but the majority of them are between Stockport and Piccadilly. And let's get some brakes in here for Stockport. So full brakes, slow right down. The modelling here is really nice as well. So let's get the doors unlocked. Lovely stuff. Yeah, the modelling here is nice at Stockport. Looks really, really nice. Things like tactile paving and stuff as well. Silly little details I think look absolutely fantastic on this route. And there we go. That was a little look at the Manchester Airport Commuter route. I've actually been kicked out the 323. So what we'll do now is we'll jump back to Piccadilly and we'll talk a little bit about the two routes and we'll decide which one's better. So I'll see you there. And here we go, we're back at Manchester Piccadilly, and I'm on the Glossop Line route to do this little outro. So, which route is better, the Glossop Line or the Manchester Airport Commuter? Personally, I do feel like the Glossop Line is a good route. It's very self-contained, which I quite like, but it is a bit shorter than the Manchester Airport Commuter, and the sort of service pattern is, it's interesting because you've got the triangle junction, and it's a little bit different. Obviously, it's a little bit quieter because the sort of rolling stock that came out after the route released obviously doesn't layer into it, but hopefully in future, if they ever make a new timetable, it will easily come into the route. As for the Manchester Airport Commuter route, I absolutely love it, but I would say the 323 operations are very similar on the route, which is quite nice. Obviously, you can run a lot more services on the Manchester Airport Commuter route, but that's because all the stock's available now, so I quite like that. It's very busy. But which one is better? It's honestly up to you. Personally, I'd say get both because they complement one another. If you want to do like a whole, Manchester network of stuff, going from Manchester to Glossop then going back down to the airport, if you want to do that, then you might as well get both. So now that we've successfully compared the two routes, I'm going to leave that video there. So thank you all for watching this video. I've been Richie, and I'll hopefully see you all next time. Bye bye.